I only have vague memories of this because I was slipping in and out of a different world.
I think I was holding your hand, keeping you somewhat tethered in this world.
I just remember spin, spin, sugar. There was no loss. There was no pain. There was only spin, spin, sugar.
Somehow Key driving us home on 2 inches of snow.
Oh my god. That fell overnight, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stumbling out into the daylight to the judgment of people walking their dogs.
Go to the afters, they said. It'll be fun, they said.
Wonder Band's Vajrasattva mantra. It's the only thing that did it.
I do love that you looped it too to stay present.
It's a good technique.
There have been smart decisions that we've made, but boy, did our spirits get us home safely. I do kind of post-party, like especially after like a rave or something like a club night, I do tend to become like a kind of like tranquilized parrot afterwards. So just repeat the lyrics of whatever was the most interesting, but slowly. So I'll be like, music is the answer. Grooving. Keep on moving.
Yeah.
I can remember that happening while cleaning your kitchen.
Yeah, you were an angel. As I was stumbling.
We were cleaning together. We were cleaning together.
Yeah. I remember being in like the almost like the muumuu style, like oversized blanket hoodie.
Yep.
Like that with the hair all crazy, just being like, yeah. I remember the day I first heard electronic music.
I heard that for it.
By 4 beats. Yeah. The other one too is just like you guys are actively like making a beautiful little like meze style like brunch with like putting all these things together on a cutting board, and I'm just like upside down on the couch. Just being like, not everybody understands house music. Alarmed at the frightful howls which you may hear. It's Finga, and bouncers know my name key. Because they do.
It just happens.
Yeah, but I say this with much appreciation for your many gifts, but you do attract an uncomfortable amount of attention in public, and so it is really nice to be like, they will talk to you, they will not talk to me.
Yeah. Just prevent situations from becoming situations.
Mm-hmm. But they are very sweet, and be nice to your bouncers, people. They are doing a job that is deeply thankless.
Truly.
Yeah, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Loving these vibe crews as well.
Oh, well, absolutely. We'll touch on that. I have the whole I'm excited to just kind of discuss the ecosystem of these places and the magic and spirits that can be found within them.
Yeah, totally. One of those places that not so often discussed, but when it comes up, everyone's like, that is the most powerful shit I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
Just excited to get into it today. But before we get into it, remember to check us out on patreon.com/thefretful howls. We have a bonus episode every month curated by and just for our patrons. We have a Discord server where your heart can get hooked on 4x4 beats.
Come post the latest GoTech set you've been listening to.
Mm-hmm. We also have a monthly live occult book club where we discuss a text of your choosing.
Or a show.
Yeah, we just talked Battle of Fates, long awaited. Rigged election.
Yeah, you guys are welcome to just like, as I think it's become the meme now, like start to steal. Like just rig it if you need to.
Yeah. And we also got show notes for every episode, and we have a whole tier for monthly group spellwork from us on your behalf.
Also, remember to give us a like, rating, and review on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you may be listening to us. Shoutouts to the Podbay heads. So shoutouts to the esoteric listeners who are like, not iTunes.
Yeah.
I'm going directly to Libsyn. Shoutouts to you guys. But any attempt at all, any sharing of the podcast that helps us fight the notoriously pernicious demiurge of the algorithm, which, as we were just talking with Jove, is kind of bunk anyway because of AI.
Yep.
Saturated. Immanentizing the eschaton of dead internet theory.
Massive. Slop.
I love it.
To quote our good friend Vanessa Irena, junglist average.
Oh man, I love it. And if your average junglist needs to be better than average, be sure to check out our services. I offer personalized coaching in magic and mediumship, sorcery for hire, readings, and custom talismans, oils, and tools. Svinga offers bulk and Fob readings. And we both offer occasional limited occult wares over on withcunningandcommand.com.
Lastly, hit us up on social media. I'm at Dragon Cunning, and Key is at barnowl.key. The B stands for the Barn Owl. And we are happy to welcome back Jove. I think it's been a year since you've been on the podcast.
Already? Wow.
Even though we like chat literally every week, like have a weekly phone call. It doesn't feel that way.
I know. Well, it is lovely to be back. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I am so excited to chat. Something that you were in many ways foundational to introducing us to. Well, me more so than Kia, I suppose, but it is something we've been like talking quite a bit and kind of mentioning obliquely here and there. That's become a pretty big part of our life, is that we've been really excited about like raving and the rave subculture, dancing, and discovering a lot of like just understanding even better, especially as people who are involved in traditions that really valorize the spirits of these kind of underground nightlife spaces, exactly what they're like on a more tangible level as opposed to just kind of intellectual, and also being able to just enjoy and experience like truly what community building can look like on an underground level, and as well as on a kind of more corporate level, and like who shows up in these spaces, what spirits are there, what kind of magic can you find. And it's such an interesting, like almost Promethean journey into like where can you take the fire and where can you add to it, and the DJ as the ultimate vibe master, if you will, that it instills a trance in people. So there's a lot I'm excited to talk about in this episode. It's been long overdue. We've had many patrons even reach out to us saying like, hey, for an otherwise like very like humorous but still very serious and very like technique focused and folkloric focused magic podcast, that people are talking about this and they relate to it so much, and they feel, some people have said like they never felt more at home in the podcast than when we actually start speaking about this more publicly. This is an episode for all of you beautiful people. And before we get there, I do want to give Jove some plugs real quick, because I have been, anytime I get a person coming to me for a reading or is interested in looking into like getting a better astrological understanding of something, or is specifically looking for like the astrologers that I recommend, Jove, you are at the top of the list. Please go check out Spucchi.com. The links are in the description. People know well by now your Hody partner, beautiful electronic Saint Expedite Shrine. And you have a new project that just is slowly kind of releasing in gradual steps, Astrotechny. Before we kind of get into clubs and partying and raves and nightlife, would you mind giving us a little bit of an intro into Astrotechny specifically?
For sure. Started with the asteroids. I took a class with Demetra George, and there really isn't software that's accessible to do asteroid calculations, and wanted to build a way to see those reports without having to email a guy and then convince him to have him give you his software. And so I really focused on how can I take texts and start to build out kind of like an astrology engine that can look at a chart and give you a textual backing for all the doctrines that apply to the chart. So really interested in a bunch of different Hellenistic timing techniques and even some Jyotish stuff. And yeah, really excited to share it with folks.
It is amazing. I'm currently in the live sky in my tab, and I'm just like, first of all, stimming on spinning this thing in the left corner. I'm just going to be very honest, but also just loving that it gives you the rulers and the day and the hour and everything, and also just all this beautiful kind of live data. Like, yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and it has like an auto election thing that's in the lab section right now. So yeah, but for me, having the sky view is also that's what it's all about, right? So knowing where something was in the sky when something was born is the most embodied sort of connection I feel like that one can have. So to the stars at least. So making sure that that view is a core part of the experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous work. Folks, do check it out, register, give Jove a boost, because as you work on it, even more features will unlock, and it's just firstly, you just have an excellent aesthetic. So it just really pleases my brain when I look at this. Like I love playing around with it. It's exciting, and I really am looking forward to this being like the software, like the website that I use for all my astro needs.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's chat about our subject. Why nightlife? Why dancing? Jove, I think when we first met, you linked me your A Culture Berlin talk.
Yes,
and it was absolutely riveting, frankly. Like I think you did an amazing job. Would you mind giving us a little bit of a kind of intro to like your own interest in this field, and like both on a spiritual perspective as well as kind of like how you connect to it on somatically as a practitioner?
Absolutely. I feel pretty lucky, even though I grew up in a quite conservative household. My parents, from an early age, were like, no matter what you do in life, make sure you go out dancing. And they, in their college years, would go out to nightclubs in New York and whatnot. And dancing was always kind of a big part of what our family did. Dance music, disco music was always something that we would turn to for just hanging out or joy, embodiment, that sort of thing. And I didn't really jive with a lot of the Christian aspects of my upbringing. But as soon as I set foot in a nightclub, I felt really, really strong spiritual experience. I think there's the deep, deep embodiment, feeling sound and bass in particular, just coursing through one's body is an experience in and of itself. And the sort of liminal space that's created there is incredibly potent, I think, for both spirit work and work on the self. I've spent quite a bit of time on dance floors at this point, and it very much is a core part of my practice, where I feel like being on a dance floor in a state of ecstasis, using the Greek term, is kind of the goal of how do you step aside and sort of let spirit drive for a little bit. And then, when you're in this sort of liminal mixing pot with everyone else, you often don't understand until you step away. But when you do, there's always something more that you leave with. And for my first night on the dance floor, totally sober, I just felt this very palpable magic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. My first ever time, like actually going to like a nightclub, was literally with you and Kipo, and it was such an interesting experience. Going for the first time and being able to lose myself in like the shadows and the crowd and the smoke cannons, and being like just moved by the music and making eye contact with strangers and like having like back and forth exchanges. Like originally, there was a bit of like a rough landing for me because I was so in my head at first, and I couldn't quite really get there. And then as the night progressed, and I realized like, oh, nobody cares. Like there's been a lot of ink spilled about like the death of nightlife because of phones and because of the prioritization of the DJ in like the center of the club that has all these like lights and productions and things, and like, oh, a lot of like finger wagging, being like, well, they're no longer in the corner, tucked away where you barely see them, and people, you young kids on your phones, and like totally, I think the phones thing is a huge reason people are not able to move as much as they would like. People are kind of a little bit worried about getting filmed and put on the internet for sure. But I do think that at the end of the day, like DJing has become a whole production experience now. That includes a lot of showmanship that has changed kind of the nature of these spaces, and I don't think we inherently have to kind of scoff at it. I think there are, as I've kind of explored more of less so nightclub spaces, although there's certainly some that I really enjoy being around and have come to like know the owners, more like underground venues and people who rent like basements and like random, like I think we went to one key that was like literally in the bottom of a capoeira studio.
Yeah,
Or
which
like
was
or like warehouses especially, yeah, which was really trippy.
it was a very strange menagerie of spirits.
Yeah, I was definitely having a time. But like they've been going out to like warehouse parties and things, and like with underground collectives that are really trying to do kind of more, promotion that involves like having a what we call like a vibe crew, which is like, someone you could just tap on the shoulder and be like, hey, I'm not comfortable with somebody that's a little awkward, and they will anonymously remove that person or, signal to higher level security than you having to do it yourself. There are people who are checking around, making sure people are okay. They're not overheating. There's free water. There's not this thing of like you would buy a bottle at the bar, but like you can refill it for sure, and people will give it to you for free if you're not comfortable. Or making sure that like the space is to sit and to breathe and to like relax a little bit. I remember one of our favorite places we went to, they were just giving out like long non like dragon eyes fruit.
Yeah, that was
And
wild.
we were just like sitting down and eating those, being like, "Oh, I need a break. I've been dancing for like a solid 5 hours." Um, it's been good to see the kind of care that can come in these spaces around like especially harm reduction. To be like, we're not here to shame you if you are indulging in a substance. We are here to make sure you're safe. And
Mhm.
not like overheating or having a bad time because you're too scared to mention that you are on one. So, and I think that one of the things that really strikes me about like magically speaking about these spaces is that there are more. I think I mentioned once some time ago in the podcast that that some of the spaces I've noticed are like full of spirits and full of like voyeuristic spirits, as like courthouses. Like because they're like, we're here to see what the next trial is. Like they get really
Mhm.
nosy. There's always a ton of spirits in like courtrooms, in the way that there are a ton of spirits in churches. And being in these areas and being like, wow, that's a lot of human emotion. That's a lot of lust. That's a lot of pleasure. That's a lot of excitement and anxiety and like exchange of money, exchange of looks. It's like a feast for spirits. And coming from a background in Kimenda, like that's not necessarily a surprise, but it is
Mhm.
so different to see in a person. It's like the first time going to a sauna and being like, even as a Slavic person, and being like, that's a banik, like that is literally a sauna spirit. Like I just saw it. No freaking way that is literally there, as opposed to just a theoretical being that exists.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think one of the things about this particular magic is for a lot of people, it's very easy to intellectualize it. Like even you were saying your experience like in the beginning, but it's such a viscerally embodied thing that like the flow, the feeling, the movement, like it is a great not to lift the chaos magic term too directly, but like the gnosis generation of it
Mhm.
in kind of plugging into the collective entity of the party, of the space, of the interaction between the building, the music, the DJ, the other people who are present, the spirits who are present, and all of those distinctions kind of becoming meaningless and letting everything flow and blend into this um, egregore that you are tapping into, tapping out of, that is tapping into you, getting your attention, moving you around the, um, I love a good side quest. And, just kind of seeing how these things happen.
Mhm.
And it's not a surprise that across the board in so many cultures, like the way that you enter trance is through music. It is through some kind of somatic body practice. It is through dancing. It is through all these kinds of things. Like it's, we were just talking in the last episode about beauty magic, how just as we want to kind of push back against the perception that caring about beauty is in some way frivolous or shallow. And in this way, I think that, a lot of sorcerers tend to be, especially in the Western world, tend to be sometimes a little trapped in their armchairs and a little trapped in their like libraries, as it were. And
Mhm.
I think that um, there is something to understanding that like trance is built in community and it's group meditation, a misa espiritual where, everyone is chanting together and checking each other. And there's group singing, there's, thinking about going to church and everyone is singing together, or thinking about being in spaces where there's clapping and dancing and there's drums and all these other kinds of things. Like even the histories of why Lira is a kingdom, in many lines of Kimanda, especially like one of the classic 7 lines, there's Lira, right? It's the notions of the hybridity of the very instruments that become the names of our traditions. And it is in these spaces that you have now, like literally the kind of foundational stepping stones of spirit contact, because someone can get possessed for just a few moments and other spirits that want to come down and dance. So there's these feelings as well of like, I mean, the Leader Kingdom itself, like our Tata Apokan, our godfather, has always really made an excellent point in talking about this kingdom, that this is where the Lira as nightclub, it gets remembered from the 30s to 50s in Brazil as this is where the street people would go, the povo da rua, the povo cigano, the people of commerce, the demimondes, sex workers, hitmen, contractmen, gangsters, all hustlers of any kind. This is the alcohol and smoke filled kingdom where everything is red and passionate and full of life, and no matter where you come from, and no matter what your social status is, and that moment you can be the star, you can be the one that attracts the attention, even if all you have is like, you don't have to have the best fashion that moment, but you have the best moves. And it's the fluidity of these identities, from who belongs to what kind of area and class, and like who is on top and who is at the bottom. Like they're constantly shifting in moments, in blinks and seconds, right? So I think that it's just really important to know, like, how many people I've talked to at this point that have said like the time that they harness the most amount of raw like power, if you will. I guess Key, you were saying like gnosis, or maybe like tibial Durkheimian, collective effervescence, was in like the peak moment when the music is swelling and it's a really good night and people are really dancing and looking at each other and their spirits are flooding with each other and all this intensity is building, and like just absolutely everything is kind of coursing. And that is when you tie the knot in the ribbon that you're wearing on your wrist. That is when you suck it in to your belly and you exhale it into the charm that you want to supercharge. That is when you let your spirits kind of flit in and out of your body until you don't even know how much of yourself is in there anymore and how much is theirs. These are spaces where, even in a secular sense, like it's not intentionally a spiritual environment, it will anyways be spiritual because we're animists. So you don't necessarily need to go to like a full on like a spiritual drumming session to experience that kind of connection to your spirits. It's alive and well, as it always has been in these places.
Well said. I really feel like every song, even every track, has its own spirit. And what is dancing if not sort of letting that track, the spirit of that track, inhabit the body, move the body, mobilize the body, having some Buto training, thinking about the sorts of spirits that animate things. And music is so powerful in terms of being able to motivate a body to move in certain ways. Someone who's DJ'd a little bit, one of my favorite parts is just seeing how a crowd of people will start to move and change, and the rhythms at which the sort of amoeba of the crowd will shift when you change genre or BPM and whatnot.
Was that screaming because you put in a familiar vocal sample, but then you change it just ever so slightly so it's unexpected? Kena had the pleasure of seeing I Hate Models at a sold out warehouse show, and that man can mix water and oil, like it's it was just so amazing because he like started amping us up for like a whoops, whichever, everyone's like, oh, okay, great, it's gonna happen, and then he completely, like, the drop became something completely different. And instead of like groaning and being, because that's a risk, right? Instead of groaning and being like, oh no, I didn't get like the thing I was looking for, people were just loving it because he had been playing with like so many genres at that point. Though I did totally think that his name meant like fashion models and didn't realize it meant like genres when I first found out. So, that's for specificity, putting on my Wittgenstein for a little bit. No, but when I listened to your culture talk in 2023, Jove, I loved your analysis of the word ecstasis and just the notion of the displacement of the ego through the trance and the rapture, and then like how does that actually happen in this place? How do we transcend? It's so Durkheimian, right? But in those moments, like even if you're not actively working with spirits, so you don't think of yourself as a spirit worker, like spirits are working through you. Like I am the I was gonna make a comment being like, what are we in the rave RPG party? Because I'm pretty sure I'm like the healer. Because I come in with a sling bag full of gum, lip balm, extra hairbands for the ladies, and the gentlemen, excuse me, with long hair, and plenty of, I have the. Not only do I have Tiger Balm, I have the and like the boom boom sticks that you put up your nose. I also have the Thai one, the green one
Oh
as
yeah.
well, and it just like completely clears your pores. And I just pass it around, and so and I have the fan. I'm fanning strangers, and people just like look at you and smile and make eye contact. And that's the best thing is I think so much in the Western occult world we intellectualize spirits, and we think if I just have the table of correspondence in my brain, and if I just know enough of the folklore and I know what to expect, then I'll see it and I'll recognize it for what it is. When the way you get psychic is by just feeling it. And
Yeah.
by letting it move you unexpectedly, like you spend an hour chanting in front of a shrine and nothing happens, and later on you find out that spirit was behind you the whole time in the corner muttering to itself. And you only realize that when you're doing the dishes later.
Yeah, exactly. It's that classic from you as well. It's what is knowledge versus what is power. And there's the knowledge of what it could be. Like we can have that correspondence versus the power of, oh shit, I just moved a mountain because the song came on and the ecstasy of that emotion was the thing that I captured.
Jove is a playlist wizard, and I'm always in your Spotify trying to see what your new playlists are. I literally refresh it like monthly. And, and it's one of those things too. But I was inspired by you to start making like more granular playlists to be like, these were songs that I felt these emotions around, and I can capture that almost like an election and start playing it in the background when I'm setting up for a ritual that will require that. Or Key and I started a list of songs that we play on the way to event,
Yeah.
because they are ones that we always associate with having a good time. Like this is going to be a good crowd. This is going to be no weird events will happen. Like we're not going to have to go on a side quest to help somebody because they're having a bad time, which happens sometimes, and it's okay. But like kind of like asking that it generally kind of passes well. We'll talk about offerings and magical techniques a little bit later, but it's just like some framings, because I think about your when you in your talk you talk about these like factors, right? Like liminality, mutability, discomfort, and randomness. And I think the randomness is such a fun part to lean into magically, because that's where magic is so like lush and verdant. To be like, this is the opportunity dice. This is the way of like, I may have gone to this venue many times and almost with the same crowd, but something is different. There's always a chance for new things to occur. Like, and the three of us were once at a venue, and our very good mutual friend left for like 30 minutes and came back and had VIP bracelets for all of us. And that was when, that got us backstage. And that was one of those things where I was just like, yeah, this is one of those things that you can just push a little bit of extra for, like just to have something on you, or know how to tip all those spirits and grease them to make sure that like you may not know what it is, but your goal here is to dance and to have a good time, and everything else is secondary.
Yeah. Like those random encounters are a beautiful part of it. And I'm just thinking of so many examples where it's like you bump into the right person at the right time and just like beautiful things happen, or like how you kind of move through the space is informed by the infinite rhizomic, almost fractal tree of possibilities out before you. And I'm like, this is organically, like you were saying, it's vibrant, it's lush, good magic exists here by default. It's just as rich as the shrine, and in many ways, not to be too poetic about it, but like everything becomes a shrine. The bar, the floor, the decks,
your body.
Yeah, most especially, yeah.
And I would love to talk to you guys a little bit about the kinds of spirits you've encountered here. Their kind of overall nature, the ways that you've seen them kind of play, interact with these spaces. Because we've had some great discussions recently with some friends about like spirits influencing politics, spirits influencing specific political parties, spirits influencing like social movements. And these, it's just known, I would say across the board, magically speaking, that places of dance and trance is where spirits happen. Like it's where spirits do the spirit work, if you will. And there are many people who are completely secular or, even just kind of more normative religious that will tell you like they had a life-changing experience at a festival or at a concert, listening to their favorites, musician and so on. Like these are deeply spiritual spaces. So, and if we think about like most of our, at the time, what our ancestors are fighting for us for is to enjoy that we're alive, to not live like what our lives would be like post life, if you will. They are like here. The redness is here. Like I'm very much borrowing some of the Kimana terminology that we inherited from Tata, but it is one of those things of like, I think about the heart, and being the drum of the body, where spirits can come through that pulse and possess and change, or just the erotic creative impulses and sensory experiences, including like heightened touch and taste and all these kind of dazzling hypnotic spirits that live in these spaces that tend to be quite emotional. They can be generous and very opportunistic. They can turn on a dime very quickly. Your new best friend that you met at the bar suddenly blows you off for some guy that she meets, or you're a chance encounter with a stranger and you're having these really animated talks where you just tell each other your life story in a bathroom and you never see each other again, or moments that happen only because everyone's on substances or something is happening, or there's like a vibe shift in the music. There's ingenuity, there's imagination, there's conflict, there's addiction, there's sudden outbursts. And there's also the desire for being seen, the desire to not be seen, the desire to blend in, the need to have an audience as well as to be a part of it. And I think that, bringing order to chaos simply through navigating these spaces and being like, suddenly you're the one person that's dancing the hardest in the middle, and now everyone orbits you. One of my favorite movies is Climax by Gaspar Noé, and I showed it to Key recently. And that one like continuous take in the beginning, is one of the most beautiful things I've seen it, and the whole movie is gorgeous. I'm highly recommend it. I think it's on Shudder, but it's one of those things of like that to me is so evocative of the way that the dance itself becomes its own possessory force, even without factoring in the whole plot of the film, and why things unravel the way they do. It's very clear in the movie that things are happening because of the group and not necessarily just because of the substances.
Yeah, I think like even that film does a beautiful job of capturing the spirit that I like the most in these spaces, which is the spirit of the space itself, where we've mentioned it on the show before, but this one venue is always trying to fuck me.
Nasty. Oh my god, it's a building likes you, and that's honestly very cute. But you do get free everything there.
Yeah. Free everything, find literal treasures, like the amount of jewelry from this thing.
And you've tried to return it.
Yeah. But the part of it too is when the spirit of the space grabs you to go make something happen. And it might not even be related to you. It's just this little butterfly effect moment of setting something off. You're in the right place at the right time and someone just bumps into you and says, "Can you help me?" And you're like, "All right, sure." So to go back to your class example, it's not really a classic RPG class, but like, what is the psychopomp of a club? The person who is like just moves people from one location to another.
Oh, that's our guy who we barely know, but we see him. I think in every lifetime we could find him. And this is one guy that we keep bumping into, and he will find us no matter where we are in every venue, like everything from like really underground events, like very mainstream clubs, and will find us and pull us into the middle, like through the crowd. Politely, it's excuse me and sorry and all that stuff, but politely. But he'll put us in the middle, and then he'll leave. And I'm like, dude, like he's the buffer, like the person who adds like the stacked buffs, I think, to the party.
Yeah.
Or I think it's the zoner, the person who kind of like handles the crowd control.
Yeah. Control mage.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. God bless him. One time he just manifested next to me and gave me a pair of sunglasses that made everything look crazy. Like all the lights and everything. And
yeah.
That was a buff. Funny. That was a temporary status buff. It lasted about 20 seconds. They took them off me and gave them to other people. But yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting too that this dividing line of like spirit and person, because in these spaces, spirits are just as embodied as people, and people are as inspirited as the spirit world. Like in your talk, Jove, like the liminality experience of like in, out, up, down, all of it is subservient in many ways to the reality being created by the spirit of the music itself.
Yeah.
DJ as Demiurgos.
Or DJ as psychopop,
Yeah.
DJ's shaman, yeah.
I think what is most spectacular about these spaces are they're kind of like Grand Central Station for um, uh, spirits and humans alike. So many people going in and out, so many spirits going in and out. The spirit of the music, the spirit of genus loci, like the spirit of place, um, uh, ancestral spirits, and then ancestral club spirits. I think even in non-occult communities, there's so much reverence for the underground folks who came before us, right? The particularly uh, Black and queer communities who um, we owe so much to in terms of the creation of nightlife. And there's this sort of reverence that feels pretty necromantic, but it would never be called such.
The pseudo initiatic structure of ballroom culture or drag culture as made manifest today, where it's like you are brought into a house, you have a godparent essentially, and you are taught and introduced secrets. And having each of these things, have parallel manifestations elsewhere. Like, what is, a music collective of people getting together and then bringing more in and developing and doing all these different things until, especially in like underground shows based out of, studios or labels or parties or whatever. It's kind of that mirror to the initiatic.
Yeah, I think particularly in these underground spaces, that's where we see kind of the most liminality. We kind of have these almost like DMZs, spaces where kind of what the natural law or order is shifts. Well, with substances, things are often more permissible. People have fewer boundaries, and I think it creates a really special space. There's kind of like this embodied understanding of the vulnerability that it takes to enter the space, be in the space, connect with the space. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I just even like learning more about the history of like house music in Chicago and thinking about this was a place where queer Black underground club culture evolved, and it became a place that accepted everyone who wasn't was rejected from the mainstream clubs got to be here and got to innovate one of the most like defining genres of music. And incorporate lyrics and from all these different disco tracks, and then itself get appropriated and incorporated into like massive international artists. Like without house, like where would Lady Gaga be? Where would Kylie Minogue be? I think a lot
Madonna.
about exactly Whitney Houston. And with techno too, like I techno was kind of what brought me into this space. And I mean the Belleville 3, just thinking about these like fantastic DJs, who are coming up in the scene as, young Black people from Michigan who were able to come and create, like, essentially in their basement, a genre that took over the world. And yeah, I really am. There's been much, like I said, thoughts have been spilled about just the notion of the commercialization of these spaces, and I think that that's an inevitable cycle that can happen almost in anything. But the pockets where you find, like, you have to create the community and the dance floor that you want. I think that just going to a place and being like, oh, this is not the vibe for me, totally, that's completely acceptable. But what if we made the vibe? What if you and your friends were the ones that danced the hardest in the middle, and then that changed something? I do think a lot about like bringing the dance floor that you want in the way that you would with any kind of magic, to be like, I'm the magician card in tarot deck, like I'm making the change. Which is why you mentioned about when you talked about like immutability. What is your power to change the situation? Like, what can you do? And that can vary greatly. Like, you may not be the promoter, you may not be the bouncer, you may not be anybody particularly with a name, but you can change a lot just by dancing. And not and of course, even with the uh like, this is just fluid spaces where you can also just transcend your identities, even for a night, to experiment, to have fun, to be like, what if I did this? what if what if I went a little bit out of my comfort zone in this direction? Still valuing your agency, and not, I hope it goes without saying to please be safe and please know your limits. But it is a really fun area where you can just go home afterwards and let that be in that space. And I think that's something that's very similar with ritual, right? It's like, once the ritual is complete, you can just let that energy hang there.
The embodied therapy of leave it on the dance floor. Best shit in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I currently live in Utah, and Utah doesn't always have the kinds of spaces that I would like to go to, the types of music I'd like to go to, um, and that's too. And, but for, say, almost 15 years now, I've been working with a group where we throw uh, parties with magical intent to um, see what we can do, what energy we can sort of round up and put into motion.
Mm.
And I think the power of party isn't just uh, doesn't have to be in a club, right? It's intentionally creating this liminal space where things can transition between masks. I think the nightlife and club culture, so much of it is about persona and creating identity and exploring identity. The club kids really exemplify this. And I think there's a lot of power in sort of creating symbols out of the self,
Mm.
and a lot of power to sort of push the boundaries of who you are in order to expand that and grow that. And so I feel like, uh, especially growing up in a more conservative background, dance floors are where I was able to explore identity, not just in terms of queerness or whatever, but also magically, right? And figuring out um, how to move energy around. What do I feel when certain types of music play? It's just such the liminality of the space, magic, energy, whatever you want to call it, becomes so palpable. And I think it's really good training for how to be sensitive to those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot about just, in current kind of internet discourse, of how permanent identities can feel. Like, you put an identity in your bio, you declare it, you become known by it because of it being archived, through past posts. And there isn't as much, and so it can feel a little bit limiting to be like, every change has to feel declared. And it doesn't feel necessarily safe to just experiment and to experience something temporarily. Like, what kind of a person do you think you are? Like, I think I mentioned many episodes ago, I kind of went my whole life thinking, like, I'm not a gym girl. I'm not the kind of person who goes to the gym. And it's such a weird thing to think about yourself. And it's such a strange thing that you kind of like put yourself in boxes in that way. And I'm just like, wait, I can do anything I fucking want. Like, this is my life. And I became somebody who now, like, I'm laughing because I'm like, all the cultural theorists in my head are just like, the identity and how you produce it, And like, yes, I understand that, but I do think there is something to being like, I can just, on a dance floor, I can let something exist in that moment. I can transcend a little bit of things that I normally think are very boxy for me, and that I can, if I don't like it outside of that context, I never have to experience outside of that context. And just going back to the spirits real quick, like, I've noticed the voyeurism of like nightlife spirits is one of the most fascinating things. It's almost like you're breaking down in the bathroom and like crying because like someone's a bad text, but then the spirits are looking at you and be like, bitch, you look hot crying, like, and you're like,
Mhm.
damn, I do. Like, it's the really funny kind of triangulation of stares that happens in these spaces. Just the tension itself as it builds, and like the kind of constant, like, I'm looking at me, you're looking at me, we're looking at each other, and then we're not looking at each other because we're too busy dancing. And then like these moments where, like, a hand reaches out, you fan each other, you dance a little bit, you never see that person again, you see them again later on, actually in a different party, and you nod. Like, these moments, it's so like, I don't know, like physically animist in that way. Because like, are you going to talk to every spirit that you see on your morning walk? Absolutely not. There's too many. But are you going to nod every now and then at that tree because you see something in it and it sees you? And maybe you never work with that tree in a sorceress capacity, but you just acknowledge its presence in that way? Absolutely.
And in those moments on the dance floor, I feel like there's so much going on spiritually. It becomes way more of a fabric than even discrete spirits popping out. Um,
Mm.
uh, there's so much going on when people are so porous. I think when you're in an embodied state, when you're dancing, you let a lot of boundaries down and balls down. Uh, a lot seeps out. um,
Hmm.
I love what you're talking about, like the nightlife gaze. It's like where you're in a club and you make eye contact with someone, and the power that that moment can have, right? Seeing someone across the dance floor, you might never speak to them, but you can, say 1,000 words just with that glance. Whether it's a knowing glance of understanding, I see you and you see me, and um, I think a lot of nightlife is about being seen as well.
Mhm.
This idea of also being seen how you want to be seen, in a place where there are no rules. There's a way that you can um, not just self-express, but experiment with that self-expression. Um, and I wish people did that more with their dancing. you know,
Yeah.
um, I think a lot of people are scared to dance. Um, I, I don't think I'm a good dancer, but I don't understand how,
Oh, please.
music
You
doesn't.
got moves.
But like,
You got moves.
like I'm not, I don't dance or anything. But like, how does the music just not move you, right? Like when
Mm.
there's a beat, like to me, it's very much a palpable spirit.
Mhm.
Mm.
And you can feel it, and then just can let it sort of move your hips if you can rock to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I've really felt more comfortable dancing like harder and more publicly and not just being super reserved because of being in spaces with you both and being able to then even go solo and just fully solo send and being like I am just gonna rock out and then be safe and go home. Um, and I've done that as a way to banish certain things. To be like, I'm going to use this collective
Mm.
effervescence to banish something. I've done it and shake it off fully so that when I step out of the space, I'm leaving it there. And I've also done it to invoke and to be like, I have to charge a core for a charm, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna bind something when the energy gets right. But that also means that I want the energy to get there. So I think a lot about the kind of spirits that we meet here, as well as the ones that we offer to. Even non-culturally specifics, I don't want to necessarily go into a whole issue and potato list here, but like thinking about who is at the door, right? Who like it's in a way that we
Mhm.
can just let's just name it kind of more generally, like in a way that there's a spirit of the crossroad going there. There's a spirit of the door. There's a spirit of the bouncer. There's a spirit of the person that pats you down, and checks you out. Sometimes a little bit more aggressive than others. Or if you're key, you just get a fist bump and go through anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and
Thinking of the things that I've accidentally brought in, being like,
whoops, whoops!
yeah.
I should have left that in the car. That wasn't even intentional.
Yeah.
Um, and um and then there's the people at the ticket booth, if they're scanning like tickets, or you're purchasing covers. There's the person, if there's a an individual who's like helping out the bathrooms, like cleaning them up, and in a really good space, lollipops. In some really nice spaces, they got mouthwash, they got sprays, they
Don't
got
forget
candy.
Kochek, some of the
Yes,
most
coach.
important people in the club.
Oh my god, yes. Those
Yeah.
people are magicians. And the other side of it too is Key, we gotta tell the disintegrating Kochek ticket story at some point.
Oh my God. That was a mess
Uh,
of a show. That was I Hate Models. They like oversold the show and it was packed like sardines. Like we left that place. A friend of ours who was with us said, "Did you guys take a shower in your clothes? Like, are there showers here?" We were like, "No, that's sweat. That place is fucking dripping." But our coach shed tickets just disintegrated from
like
how,
they were no longer physical.
yeah, they just
Um
vanished from how hard we were dancing.
Yeah.
it was, yes, I know you're supposed to take a picture of it. No, I didn't do that because I was not clever. So we sat there with our phone lights on and pieced them together with tweezers, basically. Um, to like it was like a puzzle. It was like a crime scene when you're trying to put the receipt back and see like what the numbers are. And we took a picture of that because we couldn't carry it with us.
So
And
funny.
the lady at the coat check was just like, "You're not the first person this happened to. I'll find it for you." That was sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't keep it in your pocket. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So, but yeah, coat check. Absolutely, the spirit's there. Leaving a tip for the coat check people,
Mhm.
especially if they are taking electronic payments. I can guarantee they are not keeping a lot of that cut. It's probably going to the venue. So leaving a little tip for the coat check people, I think if cash wise is great. Being just nice to people is one of the best offerings you can do. But there are spirits there that are watching, that are kind of looking at, okay, you came in looking like that, and what do you look like when you take it off?
Mhm.
For sure. Bathroom, staff are your ace, people, and the bathroom spirits are just like, so you get refreshed. So people are doing a lot of drugs, and so people are gossiping and talking to each other when there's more quiet. It is the ultimate like space of almost like clandestine
Mhm.
encounters, and I think it's such an interesting place to gather juju from if you're a materia from, if you're interested in being like, I want access. I think the green room is very much like that too, in the sense of like
Yeah.
that's like kind of the VIP area of like this is where the big people are talking and doing things and prepping the artist. But I do think like the bathroom is almost like the layman's version of that.
Mm. I mean, things that go down in club bathrooms, whether they're, you know,
Yeah.
drug deals or people fighting,
Oh yeah.
people crying, laughing, it's always a show.
Hmm.
And it's in these spaces, I think people plug nightlife often to blow off steam. And
Hmm.
when you do that, there's so many emotions flying around, so many spirits flying around.
Hmm.
That it's a very, very charged space. I feel like, if I'm trying to charge something up, a dance floor, a nightlife situation is the best place to do so, because there's just um, people kind of take masks off often,
Hmm.
and there's just, you see the sort of raw, very human underbelly of things.
And
Mhm.
you meet people you wouldn't meet otherwise, like that you would have
Mm,
never crossed paths with otherwise. Like you meet people with from highly professional careers to people who
yes,
this
yeah.
is their like I once was coming out of a bathroom and I overheard two guys have a conversation and be like, "Yeah, man, how's it going? I haven't seen you in forever." And the guy goes like, "I'm a brewer with you. It's not going so hot. I got $65 in my checking account." And they just paused and then he grinned and he went, "But I'm here." And it
Yep.
was really
Yeah.
funny. But it was also like, yeah, you meet that guy and you meet this like super powered like surgeon, like literally who's making a
Hmm.
crazy amount of money, who's also just dancing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
met some people who like this one like older man who's always in this one like space, and I went up to him once and I'm like, "What's your story?" And he was like, "I have a really stressful job," and he told me what it was, and it's very high up there, and he has a lot of responsibility, and he's like, "I go here every weekend because this is where I can be me."
Mm,
And he's not hitting on anybody. He's just minding his own business, dancing in the corner every single time in the same space with his eyes closed. And I honestly just love that. Um,
Mhm.
and that's the thing too. Is like offerings wise, a coin before you get in there at the door or before you get to the dance, or even a cigarette leaned against the door or against the wall of the space, planted on the ground, for example, after coming in, getting something at the bar and spilling a little bit on the floor and saying it's for spirits, like, may you drink well so I can, have a good time. Sigilizing something on a napkin and leaving an offering on it of like a drink that you buy at the place. I do think a lot about the offerings of giving other people water, for example, like someone who you can tell is thirsty or is
Yeah.
overheating.
mhm,
And sometimes like the best, like, I buy a bottle or like I refill one, I pour some on the floor and I give it to them. And I'm like, it's just water, first of all, and here, have a drink. And then next thing you know, like everyone is, oh, thank you God, it's so helpful. I fan them, maybe offer them some Tiger Balm, and we just we nod and just say no thank you, we're good, and then we part. But like that is itself an offering to the vibe of the dance floor continuing to be good,
mhm.
which is a lot of what
Yeah.
these spirits in some ways want. They want the fun and the voyeurism. They want the redness and the life. They want these are excellent spirits to work to gain the upper hand because it's of the sheer probability and the chance that can happen here. It's great for cultivating just success, and almost like gambling, like in a way that like a gambling den or a casino can. Like this is joy and luck, and this is also to create passion, to conjure it. These are great places to do the kind of magic that requires you to bend some rules. Thinking about the dance, but people start dancing together and they're not thinking about who they are or where they come from or is it appropriate in this moment, but they're willing to take a chance to dance with a stranger, people who are doing all kinds of weird things. But then in that moment, you also have people who are like, they just bonded closer with their partner because they were able to share a beautiful moment dancing with each other or dancing with another couple, and all their boundaries were still in place as couples, but they also got to like see the passion in another couple and then remember that passion themselves and then see each other and have a great time and be like, oh my God, I love you guys. Like, there's a lot of like fleeting moments of like, I really, really like you. I don't even know your name. But I see you in this moment, or I see you multiple times. And I think it's interesting that we've been hanging out with a really beautiful crew lately, and they've said like all their kind of best friendships have come out of these spaces, and they've been tremendously enduring. Like these are not fleeting relationships. These are people who, no matter what their jobs are, they're able to kind of get together and be like, let's go out. Let's make sure that we're having a good time. Let's take care of each other. Everyone's going sober. We're all going to take care of each other, but we're also going to make sure we have fun. And there's something really, really beautiful with that.
Yeah. I think in kind of that true expression in some ways of like the mask is down, it's just selfhood. There's a sacredness in bearing witness as well, in being the one who allows that expression to take place and be seen and heard and felt in some way, and kind of dancing along that line of like, what is the approval that can come from matching the vibe of someone getting out of their shell for the first time.
These are excellent series to contract for transformation, for glamours, for almost like ephemeral, temporary, and yet incredibly enticing boosts in the change of energy and reputation. These are hustling spirits. Like you give them a thing to watch, they will watch it and they'll make something to watch. So I do think a lot about soliciting these spirits for when you need a raise, when you need to be the one that gets hired out of everybody. Like why in your resume isn't the best, but like in that moment, you are the person that brings the energy, and they're like, we need this person. They're going to be a lucky charm, and that kind of seduction.
I've also found it really potent when trying to sort of go the horde route. There's so many spirits, and the power of music to align everyone kind of to the same rhythm or same beat, I think also kind of works on the spirits in the sense that there's an opportunity to push things in a direction across a large body of small individual spirits, and in a way that I really like. I can't think of another way to do it on that level. Maybe it's just for me, but just dancing and with music, it's this sort of coordination of multiple spirits in a way that I don't necessarily experience in other forms and other practices. Just like there's a sort of structure around the music to all adhere to and move with, and I feel like there's the desire element of nightlife really potentiates it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thinking a lot about I don't know, because we've been kind of raving and that's been our main scene, and coming out of, and rave culture is such a fascinating history, from like Eurodance, breakbeat, very early EDM, and plur as like a concept, whether it's like these clandestine gatherings that are not legal and are very spontaneous and are actively in some ways like almost like on a very magical level, like refusing to be categorized and to be restricted, and is inherently trying to fight against that, to kind of the way nowadays people call many things as raves, including almost like just gatherings in general in which there is a certain kind of genre of music being played and just certain kind of values that are being espoused. But I think a lot about the kind of, you raise this in your talk, Joe, but like the way that creativity can come from non-permanence, because I think about it like a mandala that's being drawn beautifully and gets wiped away. And that's when the night lights turn on and you see all like everything on the floor, all the shit, and then the drinks everywhere and things, and you're just like, oh, like it's like, wow, this space looks so different. The light, and you're thinking it's time to go, people, and you're like, oh, I could only have this because it was temporary.
Yeah.
And that allowed something that usually for the rest of our lives, because we see our identities, our expressions as being pretty fixed, not necessarily out of desire, but out of perception, out of like people, you often are what people remember you to be to other people. So it's just like, and they kind of are surprised when you get into a new hobby, or they kind of resist a little bit when you turn out to have a lot of multiplicity to you. And it can be like, well, actually, in spaces, I can be all those things, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what my background is. Like, it doesn't matter what preconceived notions you have of me based on my identity. If you met me outside of this space, like, this is where I could be. And those spirits are so powerful for, again, glamour. I contact some of the spirits I've like met and experienced in this scene to help me through airport security, to help me through any like difficult, strange transitions, to help me with creativity. When I'm like, I need to write something, I don't know, for some reason I have writer's block, I'll go and dance and I'll come back and I'll know exactly what it is. Or, to kind of go back to what you're saying, Jove, like pulling all that energy to charge something. Like I wear, bracelets, and I think, various different kinds of like jewelry, and I'll tie something into it because I don't want to be carrying a lot of stuff that a bouncer has to look through. There's tricks you can do to, obviously, magic wise, to get them to not look all that deep, which is great. But like, I don't want to smuggle in a bunch of stuff that is, and have to explain it. Although I have explained to a few bouncers, like, those are charms because I'm superstitious and Balkan, and they've looked at me and blinked and been like, sometimes like, oh, actually, me too. Did they work? Which is great. But I even bring around, I give people like evil eye bracelets and stuff as like a little. It's my version of candy. I just give you an Azar. But that's why, like, I'm working on some like kind of club or like nightlife enhancing charms, and I'm like, well, I don't want you carrying in like a bag that has a bunch of materia in it, like a charm bag. Like, I'm gonna make it into like a bracelet, like candy. That's gonna get washed into certain things and witness certain things, and that's gonna get tied off in certain moments. Because that you can actually slip on. So I think a lot about jewelry and playing with outfits. I think a lot about like magical, even like perfumes or sprays that you can add to your fan, so that when you're wafting people, it literally creates a scent. Like, I bring my Pombagiro's fan with me raving, and I spray it with one of her perfumes. And when I fan people, like, they get a nice smell. But then also it gets intoxicating. Like, I lent it to a person who I met, who was very tall, and he was like, "I'll fan everybody. Like, give it to me." And I was like, "Sure." I felt her approve, and he started fanning all of us, and it just felt like from the sky, like there she was, which is very funny. And then a really, really incredible rave photographer that we really admire, who like just has this uncanny ability when everyone is moving and it's so hectic, to capture these like sweaty, gorgeous, like ecstatic moments. Took a picture of us, and the whole frame of it, like the whole picture, is framed with this guy's arm and the fan coming down on us.
It's great.
And it was so gorgeous and it was so intense, but we were also kind of like, wow, that's something there.
Yeah.
Because it completely changed the vibe of us the more he fanned us. So I think ways you can bring magic in, yes, totally, like candy bracelets, necklaces, all kinds of fun things dangling off you as part of your outfit. You can always bring things in shoes. Just be aware sometimes security will check. Although not in winter if you say like, I'm cold. But generally, like, yeah, like bringing things in the form of like your fan, or bringing things like jujuing the cream that you bring in to like massage yourself with if you're getting sore. Like, I swear by Tiger Balm, and I juju mite every time I go. And then I say a blessing over my pack of gum that I end up like handing out to people, and be like, may the words come out of your mouth to refresh, to be sweet, and I bring flavors that are cooling and sweetening for that reason.
I've had some funny scenarios with bouncers where they've pulled full on, like, this is very clearly juju type talismans out of my coat pockets and things. They're like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, it's juju. And they go, okay, word. Put it back and let me in. And I'm like, these are good people. I think with that as well, like, just to touch on like the earlier point of like candy, I think like trinket culture is such a fascinating avenue for magic.
Yeah.
This little like exchange of the spirit economy almost.
It's totally like someone's just putting like a sprout on your head, and next thing you know, like after like 3 hours pass, half the people in the rave have a sprout, or like the hot stickers we put on each other, so you don't notice. And it's like, you're hot, and then like thing, people are like running around with these like fire stickers, or like cute things like that. It's really fun how that kind of goes in. I once was in the middle of a very, very, like, this was like probably the most biggest club in the province. It was just massive. We were packed, like it was for Teletech, and we were like packed like sardines. And this girl comes up to me and she was like, "It's my birthday," and I was like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah," and I give her a hug, and I'm just like, "Here," and I gave her like a giant rubber ducky that I happen to have on me because someone else gave it to me, and she lost her shit. Like, she was so happy. But it's like, it is so spirit economy pilled. It's like, I give you gum, you give me a rubber duck. I give you a rubber duck, you put a hair clip in me. I put that hair clip on somebody else, you fan me, like, it becomes this weird, like, you want to, you want like a little like thing, a breath mint, like, here you go, like, oh, thank you for the sip of water, and obviously be careful, I think that's one of those things to be like, make sure that you are being very safe about what things you accept from strangers, especially in terms of drinks, and especially in terms of substances. Like, please test your shit if you're going to partake. Any good venue will have testing kits, but in general, I think that's one of the other things you can really do, magically speaking, is like, you can make a petition or offer or ask for free drinks, free cover, free everything, safety, like anti-creeps. If someone approaches me, I don't want them. Please, may they accept with grace my rejection, which I find in some of these cases quite easy to do, because you can just kind of disappear into the crowd and be like, "No, I'm good." I was I was told by a friend, the best way to get someone not to bother you is to tap their shoulder and say, "You're nice," and then leave. But sometimes people are persistent, so it's good to be like, let me hang out with this crowd. Let me be like, come to a group of nice looking people and be like, "Can I dance with you for a little bit?" and just have a good time there. But yeah, I am. If you're coming with an RPG class, a RPG party, having a tank is great though. We'll pull you through the crowd and be like, "Nope, we are out of here."
Yeah. I think too the sort of crossroadsiness of the nightclub is so potent. The number of people that I've been able to meet there, the opportunity that you can mine there. It's sort of, we were talking earlier about randomness being a big component of magic and the nightlife. And I find like fairly easy compared to other spaces to petition for things and have them happen. Like really bizarre things, like especially in these like underground spaces where it's unexpected. There's just this, in that liminality, there's so much potential to make connections with other people, with other spirits. With, I have found roommates through nightlife. I've found jobs. I've found all sorts of things, and it feels like one of the last few bastions of true public life that we have in modern society. And not all spaces are created equally too. Like nightlife spaces, like when I speak about nightlife, I am talking more about more underground things, more steeped in queer nightlife and the queer underground scene. And I feel like it's these underground spaces that have the testing kits, that have this notion of mutual aid, that have sort of the compassionate care, an approach to substances. And to me, like, that's the real spirit of nightlife. Is, how can everyone have a good time and contribute to that? Whether it's just how one conducts themselves, or how can one share what they have. Even gum or water or a fan, is part of that sort of mutual aid economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that the hoarding of the curation of spaces, the hoarding of people, the hoarding of spirits. Like, I think about a promoter that I met that was like, when he started, like, he just basically every penny he had, he would put into trying to organize things to be like, "I'll bring the DJ, I'll bring the people. You can keep the bar tab, to the venue. Like, I just want to throw a party," and eventually, 50 people became 200 people, which became 1,000 people, which basically became 2,000 people. That would show up these events, and they're able to get major international people. But it was a lot. He was telling us, like, he basically spent every cent he had doing a very specific kind of stunt performance, where he had a DJ after a major outdoor festival that ends, in the evening. People are going to the clubs for like I guess like pre-afters, they're going to the after party's happening at 10 p.m., to 2 a.m. or to 3 a.m. And it's one of those things of like, sorry, my European ancestors just goes like, what kind of party ends at 3 a.m., But yeah, here those are called afters. But I do think that but he was saying like, he basically was just like, I want, I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to, when people are coming home, I'm going to hire a DJ to play on the subway. And that really helped kick a lot of things off for him.
So cool.
Because people loved it. They were going home and like, what the fuck? Like, this is awesome. And so everyone who boarded that train, they were going back and forth, right? Was having a good time. And so I think that's one of those things of looking into the possibilities of a chance. You might lose a lot of money, but a lot of, I think I've seen like collectives that endure are not the best ones, are not the kindest ones, are not the ones that hustle the hardest, are just the ones that stay. Like they outlast. And that is something that, these moments of chance, these moments of like extreme stardom and then burnout, is really the fluidity of these spaces. That's the nature of these spirits. So if you think about like what you might need them for, what you might want to solicit them for, you don't have to be somebody who goes to these spaces often, but like you could really contract a spirit there. Like, Key, you've mentioned the trick and trolldom of like fishing for a familiar and for, a spirit at a crossroads by literally using a fishing line.
Yeah.
You can fish for many familiars in these spaces, but they just note that they can turn on a dime and be very arrogant and be very easily bored. So you do have to kind of keep them sated with things to be fascinated by.
Drama. But even they can be courted even by wearing perfume or cologne, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's what's so powerful here. I would say that anyone who might feel like they're having a hard time connecting with magic, connecting with spirits, or seeing or feeling spirits, try a nightclub. It's the whole concept of the veil, I think, is really fraught, but things are in this liminality. Things are very porous. Things come through more clearly. Whether you're on substances or not. They're very strange things happen in nightclubs, and there's this permissibility where different kinds of behaviors are just allowed there, and they're not allowed anywhere else in our society. So with that, I think the povo de rua concept, people of the street, is so important. Just the sort of happenstance of who you meet in these clubs and the very magical moments that you can have with a total stranger are some of the most powerful aspects. Are they humans? Are they spirits? Are they jinn? Who knows? But I have had people come up to me and say a couple words that have changed my life. And I don't know who they are or what they were, but they just happened to say the thing that I needed to hear.
Yeah. Absolutely. And sometimes you're like, are you possessed? Or, am I possessed? What's happening here? Like who even are you in this moment? Like, are you a spirit or a person? And the answer, what is that beautiful line from, the Green Knight? It's like, are you spirit or are you real? And the response is, does it matter?
Right.
Like I said, in terms of practicality, you could, there's a lot you can bring in through jewelry. There's a lot you can bring in through like, even like a shoelace or something that you tie around your wrist that you would just tie knots into. It's a trick I'm really fond of. I wear certain necklaces that, I keep certain things on my body. And I wear a pair of shades that I really like, that when I wipe them, I ask for clarity, that when I wear them, I see who I can trust more clearly. That even no matter where I am in the trance, like my intuition is sharpened, and I can see through glamours in a way that would benefit me, so that I don't just like someone's extreme friendliness, I don't mistake for good intentions. So there's and again, like putting certain things on your body, including scents, like you were saying, like perfumes and colognes, like Key swears by the Lord of Misrule cologne from Lush.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. It's an interesting the fragrance, because it's mostly patchouli, black pepper, vanilla, that type of deal. Because it's the patchouli's the hook, the vanilla's the smooth things over with a little bit of sweetness that has a cloying, overpowering nature in some ways, and the pepper is still protection, but it's spice.
Mm.
I like it.
For sure. And I love it too, just the way that people, I think about singing like a mound incorporate a spirit, and it's like so the opposite gender representation of that person, and they just seem so free in that moment. That doesn't have to stay, it doesn't have to be there, but it unlocks something that allows for more power to come through. And how many times does that happen on the dance floor, right? Like how many times does it occur in these experiences when you're like, wow, like there is a moment where I could just shine in a way where I don't think I
Mm,
can, and I don't let myself in other spaces. And I think that kind of like self permission granting aspect of
yes.
these spaces is some of like the
Mhm.
most witchiest moments you can have.
Yes. And, being seen how you want to be seen and being able to experiment with that and figure out what works. How can you be witnessed in a way that feels magical, that feels great, that feels like it's empowering? Nightlife is the place to do that. I do think it's important what you wear and what you put on your body, just in terms of so much about my life is being seen, is being witnessed, is being interacted with, and the idea of performer and audience really collapses in a nightclub where everyone who's dancing is also kind of a performer. The DJ CJing, but um, anyone who's dancing is also uh, making some kind of spectacle. The
Mm.
lights fall on someone at a certain time, and I think it really sort of blurs those lines in a beautiful way.
Yeah, like the no spectators, only participants is
Yeah.
an attitude that I've seen really in two places in my life. It's the nightclub and the ritual room.
Yep. Yeah.
And, after a certain point, they're one and the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like I like just the avenues of expression as like, the ability to kind of put on an identity for a night and just try it out and see what you like. Like, you both know me to be something of a quieter, kind of standing in the corner watching people and making observations but saying none of them type of person. But when I walk in the room, I'm like, give me an hour in the club, you'll find me, running around shirtless like a maniac, like dancing my ass off, like talking to people, like just putting doing the little trick that I find really useful for club magic, which is practice your ability to tap people on the shoulder from a distance, and make them make eye contact with you.
Oh my God.
Because what a way to get backstage, right?
It is. It is. We were in the middle of like a massive fucking area, and we were again sardined, right? And Key makes eye contact with somebody that we somewhat knew who was up in a private booth that you had to pay an exorbitant amount of money to get the booth, right? Because it comes with alcohol and everything. And that person waved us up, and then Key led me through the crowd up there, and then we danced their asses off in this beautiful private booth next to the club owner of this one of the biggest venues in the city, and all because of the eye contact ship.
Yeah.
That's not a situation ship. It's like your gym eye contact ship.
Yeah. It's the ability, like Jove was saying earlier, have a whole conversation through a look. It's good to be able to move the ship, if you will.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, it's true
Yeah.
because we flip, like when we go out together. I become really quiet. Like I'm not necessarily super talkative in these spaces. I kind of prefer to zone out and go non-verbal and just dance. And I tend not to want to talk too much in these spaces. Whereas Key's the opposite. Like he's the yapper. Like
Yeah.
I will go to the bathroom and I'll come back, and he's like made three best friends who are just like, oh my God, dude, oh my God, you're so cool. I love your vibe, bro. And they're like all hanging out and having a good time and sharing like, like random life stories and sharing like cigarettes and weed and all this other stuff. And it's just like, whoa, what happened? I was gone for like 5 minutes. Um, and it happens every time, especially in that one
Mhm.
venue that really likes you. And
Yeah.
it's like, hi, whenever you come in.
Welcome
Like,
back.
yeah, exactly. And
Why don't you
it's
get into something more comfortable?
literally, yeah.
Word. All right, building. Maybe I will.
Yeah, well, the coat check is right there. 1 second.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it's funny. You come back and you're shirtless, and you're just like you have all these friends, and like suddenly we're backstage, and suddenly we're having a great time, and like the main promoter pulled us backstage personally, and like is like kind of all over you and is really like fun. And I'm just like, whoa, like this is, this is luck magic for sure. This is your spirits popping off. But it's also just fun to see you embody something that, like, again, you're usually, I'm a more talkative person, you're a more quiet person. And then and it's really fun to be like, I get to have my fun where I don't necessarily want to be interacting with all these people all the time. Like I kind of want to just have these tiny little moments, but I can mostly just kind of be in my body. Like my experience of these spaces has been a gradual like embodiment, like not so much in my head anymore, more my body, and I just want to listen to it. And that often means just dancing alone sometimes, or dancing, kind of vibing and just closing my eyes and listening to music and just letting that be a journey. And so if Key's being a chatterbox and is just like making all these best friends, like, that's actually great for me because I could kind of chill and let him take the blunt of the attention. So it works out great. And then the days that I am very chatty, I'm like, great, I can make friends and have a good time, and especially in the bathrooms, when girls' bathrooms are intense. It's feral. It's a lot, like
the art of yelling. Should I text him?
And everyone yells, "No!" The oracle has spoken.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I think there's a lot of interplay with identity, like even Jove, like you were saying, with queer nightlife, like the amount of play and expression and awakening and exploration of identity and what that means is kind of the art form. Like suddenly you're dancing with someone you might not usually be attracted to, or someone of a sex or gender or whatever presentation that you're not normally into, and then they're like, is it okay that I like that? Butterfly effect them away,
That's going back to the sort of like aspect of chance encounter and whatnot, like and the vulnerability of these spaces. I think, especially with more underground spaces, there's this assumed kind of porousness or vulnerability where you are going in there to experience, to interact, to connect, and often the substances involved contribute to that. But even without them, there's this sort of social contract, I think, of openness when you're in these spaces. And with that, you will be confronted with things within yourself that you don't normally see reflected. But because of that permissibility, it feels like a very gentle way to do that, in my opinion. Um, it's so beautiful to see someone figure themselves out. Like being somewhere. I lived in San Francisco for a while and had a sort of home club where I would spend a decent amount of time, and seeing especially younger people grow into themselves and their own style, and express themselves differently, whether it's fashion or gender or whatever, is so cool. And I mean, there's not really other spaces I can think of that we have that are that permissible.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to that one guy. Hope he's doing
well. Wait, what?
Is it okay that I like that guy?
Oh my God,
that's an H.
We were dancing and this guy fell into Key's arms, and he was obviously having I think he was having a harder come up on something. And so he just danced with him, made sure he like held him up, made sure he was good, took him to the side, made sure he was getting, fluids and everything like that. And after like a things got a little smoky between you guys. You were dancing pretty intense. And like as this kind of music tapered out a little bit as they were about the transition tracks, he just goes like, "Is it okay that I like that?" He didn't even say anything.
Just give him a look.
Oh my God, the look, man!
That's all it takes.
You explain to me that like the eye contact ships that exist in these spaces, you can tell entire narratives. It reminds me of like the Mateo thing, but
oh, he's a doctor. Oh no, medical school.
Just with the eyebrow change.
Yeah, I think the embodiment thing we were touching on earlier is super important too. Obviously, whether it's athleticism or yoga or meditation, there are other ways to do that, but dancing, it just seems like a very natural shortcut to embodiment. And I do think magic bodies are important. And
Mm.
if you having a body is not enough, being able to connect with one's body, I think is key to a lot of magic practice. And
Please,
that
like, no more occult Descartesian. Sorry, no more occult Cartesian dualism, please. Like, you are also your body.
yes,
Like,
yes.
please, like, this is literally the sacred vessel in which you inhabit for this lifetime. Across many traditions, you don't even have to keep your identity across lifetimes, like in the same way. Like, that's not what's recycled. So, like, please, 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 take good care of it, and remember that it is a huge source of power. It is the source of all the most primordial power that you have access to. Um, for like the very intellectual, heavy pattern recognition girlies out there in the world, learn from me and just know that like these spaces will humble you and help you flourish. And even if this is not appealing to you, finding the way to do this in your own way. And like Jove was saying, it doesn't have to be a venue like this. It can be a house party that you throw with your friends. And maybe you're not necessarily like DJing in the proper sense of the word, but you did make a playlist, and you are being very like, careful in its curation. And, the food that you make when you throw that party is curated. The vibe is curated. The people are curated. And it becomes this place where some of the best parties ever happen like that, just in
Yeah.
someone's basement, or you just like um, lying down on the floor with a star orb projecting into the ceiling, and having a great time.
And dancing is an incredible way to change the energy of a space.
Mhm.
Like land that has been danced upon feels different, is different. And whether that's a nightclub or somewhere in your basement or your bedroom, like you can create this liminality. You can create this sort of dance floor space to do these things. It definitely helps
Mm.
to experience it out in the world and that confrontation with the other. But I would say check out the nightlife wherever you are. See what's around.
Yeah, going on like EDM Train or RA.com and seeing like it's not just like big clubs. Like you like there's a place that I took both of you to, I think, which is like a tea house.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
they have like regular 10 to 2 a.m. Like they have like a regular open decks and
Oh,
regular like
cool.
moments where you have like, especially the queer and trans DJs come in, and they have like a whole parties a series there and stuff like that. It's really fun. There's a lot of really cool places you can go where there's going to be, it's a bar, but it also has a basement, and the basement is tiny, and it's maybe 150 people, but some of the best dancers ever are going to be there, as opposed to like a major venue. um Checking out RA, for example, will just give you, not that everything's on there, some of the best things you kind of hear word of mouth, but like nowadays a lot of people are promoting their scene there, and it's a great time. I just go back to what you were saying, Joe, of like about like charging something there. I think about bringing in a paper petition in your wallet and leaving it under the carpet, at a house party, and then
Mhm.
everyone tramples on it and it becomes supercharged, or tucking it behind a mirror in a bathroom and then bringing it out at the end of the night. There was one time we were at this warehouse that we really love, and people had scattered rose petals absolutely everywhere. And by the time we finished, we grabbed as many as we could take home that were just trampled rose petals, and being like, "This
It's
is
great.
good fucking juju."
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was like, all right, we're doing this.
yeah.
Mhm.
Wristbands, I think, are great too. I've used those as materia. Um,
I
you
collect them. I Some of the ones that I got for free are going in the whimsy oil.
that's great. That's great. And even just like I've taken clothes and like that have covered my sweat, lots of other people's sweat,
Mm.
as materia too. Just even washing them and creating a wash from that is
Yeah,
really really potent.
get that sweat in there. Yeah, I was thinking about one time dancing like literally all night, and it's starting to kind of wind down. And this one girl gives me a hug, and she had this most gorgeous fur jacket, and I'm at that point in the night where I'm gonna touch it. So can I hug you? He's like, yeah, of course. And so I'm like touching him. I'm like, I love your jacket. He's like, yeah, I love it too. And as they're pulling apart, I'm like, stop that. Like, I want to feel that fur jacket. But she's like, have a great day. Get home safe. I love you. And I'm like, I love you too. Like, and I meant every word of it. And it's just, but that's thinking about the material of wearing something that people might want to look at, or people might want to embrace.
Mhm.
I'm giving out like candy like stuff, or in being in a situation where, again, like you can do the gum that you bring in and so on, but you can bring things to charge. And I love bringing in paper petitions. I put them in my wallet, behind cards, and then I hide them in places. Times that I've gotten backstage, I might tuck it in slightly behind the DJ booth, and it just absorbs so much. Or I played around with luck magic to be like, do I want to make sure I'm not seen today? Do I want to make sure I blend in complete with the crowd? Or do I want to be so seen that I end up on the official Instagram of this famous rave photographer who takes a picture of me and my friends? Or Key being center frame in like half of them.
That one picture where I'm like accidentally just Baroque painting maxing.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like everyone's faces are dark, and then Key's in the middle, like shining. I'm like, boy, that's a glamour. Get, get.
Yes.
It's so funny. No. But also just like the spinning, the exhaustion, the having to sit down every now and then, to having to like regulate, having to drink a glass of water, having to like breathe, all these repetitive things. Like that is altered state, substance or not, that is going to get you there. Just some real exchange, just some real material to be gathered. I really love the idea of like the wristband that you rub on things. That absorbs the sweat because usually it's paper, right?
There's really something to be said about like kind of the genre and BPM of the music you're listening to as well as it affects these like different pieces of materia. So like the sweat of house, that's going to be at the natural rhythm of the body moving is going to be very different than the sweat of like a
minimal techno.
Yeah, minimal techno versus 160 BPM trance versus whatever else. But that's all just manipulation of the energy of the trance. What direction you're going? Are you going so up that you go out? Or are you going so down that you wake the dead?
Yeah, it's a very interesting sort of ecology of music and style and substances and spirits that all kind of change based on the scene. And like techno very much has its own kind of vibe, and its own kind of spirit. And going somewhere that plays like more Afro Latin stuff, totally different vibe.
Oh my god, we went to see this one really great, kind of like Afro Latin DJ who started playing just Orisha music straight up, and it was incredible. Just like hearing a beautiful like sound of Shango in the middle of the dance floor that he was like seamlessly blending with it, mixing with a few other things. It was just amazing. And I mean, it called some things down for sure. To the energy. There was some real ancestors that were around. Yeah, I love it. I love the way that the interplay happens. It's honestly, it's great cardio. Like I'm like like 25 minutes on a Stairmaster, no thank you. 8 hours behind my friend who's DJing, easily. Yeah, it's and we've made some really cool friends in these spaces that are really inspiring. And yeah, it's been great. Key, I think you're you're a fan of just wearing a bunch of chains and anointing with different oils. I've noticed.
Yeah. Just jingle jangling my way through the space.
You have like one of your chains looks like a bike chain.
Yeah.
One of them is like a proper like kind of shorter around the neck chain, and then and then we need to get one for like your jeans and one for like your wrist or something. I don't know. We need a chain max. Yeah.
Chain me down. God. No, that's one of those things that like settling on aesthetics, settling on play with really the body and like appearance is something that I never engage with as an offering to myself in the ways that I do now, having inhabited these spaces, Yeah.
Key, I remember that time you and I walked over to like a drum and bass room in the club.
Yeah.
And just like the vibe changed so much. You could see aesthetically what people were wearing. It was very different. The spirits that were around were very different. And it was
That was massive.
Massive.
We both got a little sucked in.
There is a lot happening in that room. Very narrow, red lights. There's a big dragon on the back wall. There's a lot happening in there.
No, I mean, drum and bass and general and UK garage, like that. Sometimes, like I'm like, oh, I've been in the techno room for a little while. Let's go in here. And it's like, whoa.
Well, those aliens.
Moment.
Yeah, that's a whole other genre of human right now. Because I like being like, let's listen to minimal techno and pull out my famous one move for 8 hours. But I also just like to be, especially like I think since the last time you and I partied, Jove, like I feel like my hips have undergone like entire decades worth of loosening, because I'm very fluid and in how I want to dance now, and it's interesting to see how my spirits influence the way I want to dance depending on who's near.
Yeah.
And you know, it's always great. It's also fun to be recognized. People go up to us and be like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
you guys everywhere." Yeah.
It's so interesting too, like what dancing does to a place, you know, and how that charges a space. And you know, I remember I was able to, this was a while ago, go up to Stonehenge and walk around. I was like, you know, I'm sure people threw parties here. Like,
oh, for sure.
You can feel that the space was danced upon, sort of. And I think dancing is very, very powerful magic that is super accessible. And it's very different than the sort of ceremonial magic, the more shamanistic side of things, where it is more felt experience, it is more embodied, it is a little bit less in the intellect and more in the enteric nervous system. And I think it's a different way of connecting with magic. I know for me, it took a little bit to sort of justify me or realize that it was just as valuable or just as valid. And, you know, it's just, I think, so potent in terms of experience. Just people who are not magical at all often report things that are quite spiritual going to these sorts of events.
So there's a quality of the sublime in all of it.
Mm-hmm. So go out there, shake some ass, make some spirit friends, make some other people friends. You know? Get out of the armchair, and I think that's the thing, is like create the omnidirectional dance floor that you want. If everyone else is staring at the DJ, maybe you stare at somebody. You know, you stare at a different direction. You do a dance in a different, you know, be the axis. I think it's so interesting when like, recently we were at a place and like the crowd was pretty nice, but people weren't dancing as much as we kind of hoped. And at one point, like we started dancing pretty hard, and then a guy approached us who kind of recognized us, and he was like, "I remember you guys from like, you know, literally 5 months ago." And we were like, we did not remember you, bro. But we started dancing with him, and then he brought his crew, and then those guys started. And next thing you know, we were like in a circle, like dancing at each other and pushing each other into the middle, where one person would dance really, really hard while everyone would cheer them on, and then the person would go back in, and the next person would go in. So at one point, like I jumped in and danced really, really hard, like, you know, just putting out all these random movements, and people were cheering and yelling, and then I blacked out, and then Key went in, and he starts like kind of almost like hip hop dancing. It's really fun, and you know, we and it was just like beautiful, like a no phones moment of people just like loving it, and fanning each other, and like we exchange, you know, Instagrams later on, and we're just like, let's do this again. It's actually why I started having like I started using an actual private Instagram to be like, I need to add people who are not gonna have to see my juju shit. Like, and it's really fun to just make friends out in these spaces. So like in that exact moment, actually, like in that very story earlier that night, I actually bought a drink and spilled half of it on the floor. And granted, not in a place where I'd be like, oh, like I'm sorry to the random person has to clean this. Like it was a concrete warehouse floor. You know, it's seen worse, and everything's gonna be sweaty anyway. But like I spilled it in an area people wouldn't like necessarily like slip on it, and it was just like, this is for the spirits. Help us find better people to dance with today. Like I want like today's a day where I want to meet people I can dance with, and that was just, yeah, it was really fucking fun. And now that those people like text us and be like, "Are you going to this thing? Will we see you there?" And it's great.
Mm-hmm. My perennial call for the magician be in the world that you want to influence.
Yep.
And get a nice cologne or perfume you can wear while you're doing it.
Yeah. Be deodorant of art, please.
Oh my god. Some of you need to go back to back with DJ deodorant, is all I'm saying. Some of you. Well, Jove, this has been absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for joining
Thank you for having me.
about
It's great to be back.
the magic of the club. Yeah, we got to have you on more often. Folks, if you are looking for an astrological reading, if you're looking for a natal chart, solar return, like looking at your next perfection years and how to best maximize them, Jove is your person. Like, I have hired you many a time, and it's been groundbreaking for me and being able to schedule some things in my life.
Thank you.
And check out Astrotechny, check out Hody Partner, go say thank you to Sin Expedite, get a virtual pound cake.
Yes.
And just we will be in touch. Some fun club charms. I'm trying to make a whole candy thing work. We'll let you know how it goes, because I wanna fumigate it and have a whole bunch of things you can do, like as like stuff you don't carry in with you, but things that you anoint with, things that you burn beforehand. So we're working on some stuff behind the scenes, but we want to make sure it's good. And frankly, we got to go be in some places first to knock down some magic before we're ready.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely in the works. Now, we were talking before we got on the call. This is our podcast, and we do not need to choose only 1, 2, 3 Akashic records. We can, it's my show, and I can have as many songs as I want. So let's talk about here. Yeah. What are the songs that will make you move it? Even if you're exhausted and sitting on the bench and being like, "Oh, I should get home soon. I should call an Uber," and then you hear that and you're like, "Oh, no," and you get right back in there.
I've got a few. I think the song that is like associated with me at this point is Lily Palmer's "Late at Night."
I have seen you like go from 10 to 100 HP.
Yeah. Then recently I've been on a big Shrens and like harder techno kick. That's what really gets me moving. So Ben Techi's Klein Vorbei. It's just goated dark lyrics. Just fucks as a song. That like synthy arpeggio thing that happens later on. Ooh. And then in Gefects, Taking Off My Clothes, that a friend of ours played in a very legendary set to the joy and admiration and removal of clothes of everyone. So that was fun.
I blinked and you were shirtless. I just saw the chain swinging. I'm like, whoa. One of the ways to get me back on my feet is definitely Golpiz Master at Work. A classic, but such a good one. Immediately will get me to bounce.
What you waiting for?
But you're back in it. And also a thing I will definitely like, Comatose Parrot later that evening. Also, Less's Music is the Answer. Long intro, huge payoff. Just incredible, especially with the DJ is like kind of playing with it, and it's just like, turning it on, turning it off, turning it on, turning it off, just like randomly queuing the other track, and just like having a great time, like playing people's expectations. It's such a fun one to just be like, whoa, what is happening right now? And then one that if I hear it, no matter where I am, I will run to the middle and dance is Yellow Claw, Nativistic, and Ryan's Crush, which was famously featured in the A24 film Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman in a very famous rave scene in that movie, which you can go on YouTube. It's like the raves scene, like Baby Girl or something like that. Like it's cool. I've not even seen the movie. I just know that scene, and I was like, oh, that's exactly what that feels like.
It's really good. It's really well done.
For me, As the Rush Comes by Motorcycle. If I'm tired, that song can always get me up. Spin Sugar, Armand's Dark Garage remix. Gotta shout out. That's my all-time favorite track. And then Frankie Knuckles did a remix of Blind by Hercules and Love Affair. And that's one of my favorite closing tracks ever to hear on a dance floor. So no matter how tired I am, I can always get up and dance to that song.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. This was absolutely amazing. I'm going to make sure this is all in our playlist. You can check it out. It's on withcunningcommand.com/podcast at the bottom as a playlist. And you can also just search it up. It's the Akashic Records of the Frightful Howls. And our license to depart is none other than some of the lyrics of Closing Time by Semisonic.
Closing time, open all the doors and let you out into the world. Closing time, turn on all the lights over every boy and every girl. Closing time, one last call for alcohol, so finish your whiskey or beer. Closing time, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I know who I want to take me home. I know who I want to take me home. I know who I want to take me home. Take me home.